What's going on, guys? I'm Zach. Welcome to Bros React 0151. You know what to do, guys. Scouse Nation in the building. It is what it is, or is it? Today we've got for you Star Spangled Banner as you've never heard it. Do you know what I mean? So,
we've never heard it.
Us guys reacting to, obviously we react to a lot of US, music and everything. So this is about how a US national anthem has been put together. So let's check. You get me? Hopefully you enjoy this. Let's get into it.
The official link will be in the description down below.
There was a lawyer once, his name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story.
Do you know what? That's so true. Do you know, sorry for stopping this so early, but think about it, how many songs you listen to, and you just listen to it, but you don't know the meaning of the song, you don't know the history about the song, who wrote it, how it came in place, why this person wrote it. Do you know what I mean?
I do that. I don't really. Sometimes I just listen to a song and I don't realise like what you went through, or sometimes it could be telling a story as well.
That's what I'm trying to say. So it's just like this national anthem, the Americans' national anthem, the way you're just saying it as well.
And a lot of people do that as well.
Understand what the history is behind it.
Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Bloody well, he went downstairs, found the cargo full of...
but they knew anyway. That's what he was going in for, because he said he wants...
No, I'm just saying it's mad, isn't it?
They've got that person, what's his name, Scott Key.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer. He wants to negotiate with them, do you know what I mean, to find a solution where they can get released and everything, do you know what I mean? So when he went down there, he didn't realise there was that many, do you know what I mean? And they had like loads. Isn't it mad? But both sides had the Americans had the British, the British had the Americans. Do you know what I mean? And that's crazy, kid. That the way things was back in the day, things still happen.
Still,
like this,
low key.
And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth.
Wow.
He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately.
Wow. Just to lower the flag in it and do stop like fighting and that?
It's crazy, lad, you know, like...
That's what some people do though, is over flags, over...
People die behind the flag, lad.
Yeah.
But the flag means so much to them,
Yeah,
that's their country. Do you know what
They
I
fought
mean?
for it.
And everything. You gotta, lad, you gotta show no weakness. You get me? If you're gonna stand up for your country, you've got to.
You gotta show
No matter what, lad. Otherwise, whoever always just comes along and be like, do this, do that, you're gonna just do it and they're gonna just take over and invade, do you know what I mean? That's the way it can happen. You know, you gotta be strong and...
So they're not scared of nothing.
Serious. And by the way, shout out to the guy who put this together, or the lady, or do you know what I mean? Mona Rose, that's a YouTube channel. Shout out to them, do you know what I mean? And
it's giving us insights of it as down from as well.
I like the way the video's put together, lad, do you know what I mean?
And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule.
Oh, you'd be under British rule.
Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up.
Wow.
It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said,
you know what, I'm sure I've heard that name, Francis Scott Key. It rings a bell. I don't know if we done it in school or something.
the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer God keep that flag flying where we last saw it.
Wow. So basically everyone was praying for the flag to stay back up.
Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow. Basically,
See how many people died behind that flag, lad?
Wow.
Oh my days.
And that would have made us stay still.
He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see?
Wow.
See, that's why sometimes, you know what, it's good understanding and knowing the history about things you listen to, things you watch. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times we just watch things and be like, yeah, it's alright.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I like that song. You like that song, but you know what? The meaning is behind that song.
Yeah,
Do you know how that song was made?
Yeah.
Do you know why was that song made? Do you know what I mean, kid? And this is amazing, the way this song, the way it's coming.
Yeah, because it's all the story back.
It's so powerful, lad. You know, especially to all the Americans.
Yeah.
You know, people died behind that flag, and that's why that flag means so much to them, man. You get me? It's not just a flag.
Rest in peace to the fallen soldiers as well.
Let it go, early light. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wow.
Mate, this is amazing.
He's got a nice voice as well, it just goes with it.
Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Blessed is the nation who God is the Lord. Who's the God is the Lord. Wow. This
This
was
was-
emotional as well.
This is not like our normal reaction videos, do you know what I mean? But kidda, this is more on an education reaction video. Do you know what I mean, kidda? For the ones who didn't know about the meaning behind the what is it called, the American
Anthem.
do you know what I mean, national anthem. I didn't know.
We didn't.
nothing
I know
about
I
it, do you
didn't
know what
as
I
well.
didn't know the meaning behind it or anything, but now I do. And do you know what? I'm happy. I've been educated.
Yeah,
Thanks to Mona Rose for putting this together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Make sure you just go and subscribe to her channel. Get that? Do you know what, lad?
Yeah.
That's why. Yo, well,
It was emotional as well. Just
yeah,
to listen
it
to it
was,
as
you know,
well.
lad. The people who died behind the flag, lad. So many. Rest in peace to them. Do you know what I mean, kid? Remember, guys, always do your research. Check the history behind things. And we're so privileged these days. We've got the internet.
Yeah, that's it.
We've got YouTube. We've got everything. We can just check up
Click
things
up a
so
finger.
quick. Do you know what I mean? We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time.
Have a